This is my biggest project I have ever tackled DIY style, and I cannot wait to bring you along for this journey.
Let's talk a 30-second plan. Plan is take this cabinet out, take what's inside of here and put it in the storage that I'm making in this side of the room. Laundry hamper will go over here because that makes a lot more sense, because right now I'm currently having to go like this over the door to put the laundry into the washing machine, and that's super frustrating. So instead, I'm gonna build a counter so that I have a folding station, because this laundry constantly is getting pushed down the back and in the sides. We don't want to talk about how I have to get that out. Then I'm also gonna build a hutch right here that's gonna have a drying bar for hanging laundry, eliminating the need for this, and actually providing function. It's also gonna have a shelf with storage. And then over here in this very slim area, I only have like 9 inches to work with. I'm gonna build cabinets on the bottom to hold things like dog food. And then up top, connected to the hutch, is gonna be more storage for irons and laundry detergent and all the things that you need in the laundry room. And it's gonna be pretty and functional. That was probably more than 15 seconds, but that's the gist of this project. We're going to repaint the gray, lighten the room, make it feel more cottage style, and I think that's enough for today. Now this is probably going to be one of my more challenging rooms to film in because it's small, and so I don't have a really good place to put the camera that's not going to get tipped over by me bringing wood and countertops and whatnot in here, so bear with me. Bear with me.
Now, if you are new to me here at Grace in My Space, hello, I am Sarah, and this project is actually stage 2 of a complete gut home remodel that we actually finished last October. And so we got this space basically to builder grade, and now I'm going to make it super custom. A lot of this project is going to be me learning brand new skills and also learning new tools. So I hope it gives you a little bit of confidence that you can do it too.
First piece is cut. Now, I think the biggest challenge of this entire project is me lifting these plywood pieces by myself. They're extremely heavy, either that or I have become extremely weak. Both are possible, but now I have to get this next sheet on here by myself, and I need it to be face side down, which is on the wrong side from how I have this set up. So we're gonna do some maneuvering. Hope I can chip up my corners on this piece of plywood. Oh, what am I hitting? Ah, shoot. Garage door. Come on now, little guy. In theory, how are you not gonna move? Okay. Okay. Okay, that was not the plan. But it's gonna got us there. Okay. I've moved much heavier things. So many king-size mattresses have been moved alone. This is nothing. Now, if you've never done any furniture building, I have not. This is the first thing I've ever built before. As far as furniture goes, I've made shelves, but this is gonna be a bit of a increased skill level. So I wanted to share one of the tools that I found like super invaluable to this process. It is totally free. I know that there are multiple options for this, so this is not the only one, it's just what I used, but it's called opticutter.com. So you enter your cut list, and then it takes it, and you enter your material size, so a 4x8 sheet of plywood is mine, and it shows you all of your cuts that you can get out of one piece of plywood, which is huge because math and me, not the best friends. And so like, look at this middle one. I probably would have spent hours to try and figure out how to best use my plywood, or I would have just started cutting and wasted a ton of wood. So with this, I figured out very quickly, within minutes, that I only needed 3 sheets of plywood, and that way I am not using a lot of waste and I'm saving a ton of money.
Now, I drew up this piece of furniture and then I created the cut list from my own personal measurements. So if you are interested in creating your own washer dryer hutch, I will link my design plan in the description for you, and then you can just customize it to your own dimensions. Two panels in. It took forever. My saw kept dying. I need a corded saw instead of battery operated because my battery operated is too small to cut through plywood without dying every 2 seconds. So I had to go to the store and get a new saw, which is the 4th tool I bought for this project. Day 1 included making all of my cuts for both the bottom cabinet as well as the top hutch. This Craig AccuCut was an absolute lifesaver. There were several pieces that I cut smidgen too big, and it took off a saw blade very easily with very straight, accurate cuts, something that is invaluable, especially if you're cutting these big, heavy pieces of wood and you don't have a table saw that makes long cuts easy. All the pieces are cut. It took me probably 4 or 5 hours, which it shouldn't have, but I was having a hard time with my saw, so new saw went a million times faster. All right, what's the plan of action to get them on here, because they're...
Lean it up and slide it back on that side first, and then do this one. Oh, that's heavy.
They weigh like 500 pounds or something crazy. Okay. See? So much better.
Problem is over here, you can't do that.
Why?
You gotta disconnect your...
I know, we're gonna have to readjust that. We're gonna have to get flexible pipe, because this has to move anyways to get closer to the wall. But imagine that there's a top right here, and if something goes wrong with the water, we need quick access to the water lines. We gotta be able to pull this thing out fast and easily, because there's gonna be panels now on either side of these. So it's gotta be on rollers, otherwise you're gonna sit there jimmying it like this back and forth, ruining the feet on the sucker. Like, we need to have easy access to the water. A ton of this project was really just thinking through the entire process before I actually did anything so that I could avoid mistakes, avoid having to rebuild things. And so I started by removing the back trim so that we could make all of our countertop flush against the wall. And while I know that there are a lot of different ways that this could actually be built, I tried to do it as simple as possible, especially because I'm doing the majority of the work by myself, and these are very heavy pieces of plywood. So I added some back support that will not only give the actual structure of the washer and dryer countertop stability, but it will also help keep it level as I install it. Then I went ahead and I sanded down all of the cut pieces of wood for my cabinet base, and I did some Craig pocket holes so I can assemble it pretty easily with some wood glue and pocket holes and make it a really sturdy structure. Now, it's still cold here in Michigan, so most of the prep work and the painting and the staining had to be brought inside, and my house was basically chaos for 2.5 weeks while I built this. I decided to go with the color Steamed Milk. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's such a creamy tone while not being very yellow. Now, since I'm actually learning the majority of these skills as I'm doing this project, I really didn't want this video to be tutorial based, because I am learning how to do it as I go, and I don't want to ever recommend a certain building method as if I'm an expert in something if I've never done it before. But there are a few things that's worth mentioning.
So I was originally planning to do pocket holes on both sides, but then once I drilled both pocket holes, and I was like, how am I gonna fit my drill in this 9-inch space when my drill is this long? So I just made a little cleat on this side and I nailed it directly to this board, and this side rests and this side is screwed in with a pocket hole. So this will get covered up with face frame. You won't even know it's there, and hopefully it gives a little bit extra stability because of all the wood glue and everything. So that's how I'm doing this 31.5-inch depth with a very narrow shelf. Speed is the name of this game. One shot at this effort, so here we go. This is probably a two-person job, but it's just me. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so heavy. This room is so small. Okay. I can't see either side. Ow! Fingers, fingers, fingers. Ah. Okay. There's another clamp. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't get this. Not going great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Hard on my top. Okay. I'm tired. Miracle.
This was definitely a two-person job, but it was just me. So I did the best that I could with assembling this very large piece. Had I had two people, I would have done it differently. And had I had a bigger workshop, I would have done it differently. But you know what? We make do with what we have in most DIY home improvement projects. And this is my first roadblock. All right, I've run into a roadblock. My 5-foot electrical cord to plug in the washing machine does not reach the plug because they installed it right here, which is the stupidest spot to put a washing machine plug because it's on the completely opposite side of where the washing machine plug is. I also do not love that I have no way to see once I push this back how my drain pipe is accessing, if it gets all kinked or if it's falling out. So I'm MacGyvering a solution that I think is going to solve both problems and give me access to these very important pieces when I need it, since this is very much a permanent solution. I decided that I was really going to need an access hatch for all of the plumbing and the electrical components. So even though I just did this, I drilled into my brand new countertop that I fully assembled. It was very nerve-wracking, but I really felt that it was the best solution for this problem.
Moment of truth. Did I just cut up my perfect countertop for no reason? Or is my MacGyver solution gonna be worth it?
It's not recommended to use an extension cord for appliances. It's a fire risk, so I was definitely not willing to do that. Wasn't willing to redo the electrical location of the outlet. That would have been a lot more expensive and time intensive to bring in a professional. So this solution just ended up being what worked best for me.
I access everything! Look at this. I can make sure the drain pipe goes all the way in. Ah, it worked! Smushing my water lines. Look, I can see everything! Oh my gosh, I can't believe this worked. Thank you, Jesus. What's going on here? Come here, you. See, I wouldn't have done this. I would have no idea what is the problem to try and push this thing back. And also, I never would have been able to plug it in. So up here, I just put some support bars so that this doesn't fall through. And I made sure it was big enough for my hand. Look at that. Also gives me quick access to turn off the water if there was some kind of crazy leak happening, instead of having to monkey with the machine pulling out. Today is paint staining day for the upper cabinets and the lower cabinet countertop. I've got it all laid out on my dining table. If you buy those painting triangles that elevate cabinet doors and such, great. But if you don't, a can of vegetables, it works just fine. So I am really glad that I'm pre-painting. When I did the base cabinet, that was a 31.5-inch depth, and there's no way that my arm would have been long enough to get in there to get the back of the cabinet painted very easily or without a huge mess. So I'm doing the same for the upper hutch, and I am staining the countertop today. So I feel like we're in the home stretch, but we're really not. Like, we still have a really long ways to go, so let's get to work.
I'm starting the countertop with a wood conditioner and saying a prayer that the stain's gonna take well.
All right, we're staining. I have a little bit of PTSD from staining the countertop from the coffee bar because it went so very wrong, and then I had to paint it because I couldn't fix it. And so I kind of feel like, you know what? No, it's not gonna happen again. This is gonna work, but we're still gonna start in the back and make sure it looks okay before I do too much. I did do some test samples, but I just want to see what it's gonna look like. It's just really kind of flat. It's not a very rich color like it normally is, which is interesting. I thought I started well enough, but I don't think I did. Oh my god, that's a lot of gunk. Oh dang. Oh my gosh, look at all of it. Now I'm really gonna have to put some work in. That is so much better.
My first coat of stain was Special Walnut, and then I topped it with Jacobian.
Now, I had an inspiration photo for this that had the most beautiful cream color, and I could not find the name of it because a lot of times designers will not put the paint color because they have obviously charged their clients for their work, and therefore it's like a protection of their clients' investment, which I think is admirable, but it is very frustrating for a lot of people who don't look at it from that perspective. So I was kind of just gonna try and find like my closest option because I really loved the color. And then one of my followers on Instagram, thank you, found the color for me, which was amazing because I had scavenged the website of the designer and I could not find it. And so that was amazing. She like found it in the comments section of an Instagram post that they had posted, which I was like, that is dedication. Like, you are a rock star. I'm so grateful. And so I went and I got the color, and it is not even close to the colors that I thought it was going to be. I had purchased 2 different color samples, and one of them was very yellow compared to the real color, and the other one was very white compared to the real color. So when I looked at it on the computer screen, they look the same, and that just goes to show you how very different color is in real life, especially when you're looking at these lighter creamy whites. They can pull so many undertones so quickly. And so this color is called Steamed Milk by Sherwin-Williams, and I was looking at Creamy by Sherwin-Williams, which was much, much, much whiter than this, and I was looking at Creme from Sherwin-Williams. I can't say it without creme, without like feeling fancy. So that was way more yellow than this. And so the Steamed Milk is so aptly named. Like, it honestly looks like steamed milk. It's very creamy, it's milky, it's not really white. It's got some like pinky undertones as opposed to the yellow undertones that a lot of creams have. And I love it. So I was so grateful that somebody like took the time to go on the hunt for me. It's the best.
While the kiddos were home, I took advantage of their help in assembling the hutch top. It was very long, it was very awkward, and it was very hard to put together because of the height of it. And so having the extra set of hands was invaluable. They also learned a few things along the way. They got in there and they did some of the pocket screws, they did some of the clamping, and it was a blessing to have them help me out.
You're so strong. You did it.
Now for the back panel, I decided to go with 1/4-inch plywood so that it would give the piece some rigidity without the weight of the 3/4-inch plywood.
By where Mom is.
Alright, go ahead. Where am I going along?
Lift it higher. Aaron, you gotta go higher, babe. Are you good?
Yeah.
Alright.
If it's all the way back in that corner or not, it's touching here, but there's a big gap.
See if you can get on the ladder and see. There's gotta be a big bow in the wall. Man, I should have made this a little bit shorter.
I secured the hutch top to the studs to make sure that it was not going anywhere, especially with how big and heavy it was.
Okay, let's do a quick catch up on the progress. So I have all of the framing of the cabinet obviously installed. I need to add the beadboard, I need to add my upper shelf and my rod for hanging clothes. But today I'm going to work on my cuts and finishing stains and paints for the face frame. So obviously plywood is very thin, it's only 3/4 inch, and it's also unfinished on the face of it. So you can either get like edge banding to cover this up, you can do super small 3/4 inch trim to cover it and have it be really flush, but I'm actually going to do a 1x. This is a 1x2. It will add a little bit of beefiness to the frame, and it's going to go all the way around everywhere. Everywhere you see an unfinished edge of plywood is going to have this face framing, and it's going to make it look more substantial. Also give some more rigidity to the boards because it's a really long span, and even though I have supports, I feel like it needs a little bit more stability in some places, especially like this top piece. And so this will just help frame it out a little bit and make it look very finished. That's the plan.
I used really affordable beadboard paneling for the back, which is another reason why I didn't go with the full 3/4 inch plywood on the back piece, and it adds a lot of this really pretty cottagey vibe that I was going for. Then I added in the shelf that's going to be used for my storage basket before I did the hanging bar.
Decided I should do a load and make sure that I installed everything properly before I just assumed that I installed everything properly, because water going everywhere. We've already had that happen once, not my fault. When we remodeled the house, the plumbers came in and they had to move some plumbing. Makes sense since they're plumbers. And they cut the drain pipe for the washing machine, like literally just cut it off because they had to relocate it. And then they left for the weekend and didn't tell us that they cut the drain pipe. So I did a load of wash and it drained into our basement ceiling. And it flooded our basement. So we started our basement remodel about 4 months earlier than we planned to because of that. So I'd like to make sure that that doesn't happen because of my fault this time. It was all good. They accepted full responsibility. They paid for all the repairs. It was fine. It was fine. It was a learning opportunity for everyone. Everyone makes mistakes. That happened to be kind of a large one. But you know, we got our basement remodeled faster in the end, so whatever. Life goes on. Look at this, it's working and everything. I cut my little access hole. So now I can watch and make sure that everything's draining the right way. Let's check in. I realized this morning as I was kind of preparing mentally for what I needed to check off the list today for this project, that I basically worked for 8 days straight and not said anything to the camera. I get so focused when I'm doing these projects, and I film stuff, but I don't talk a lot because the amount of talking that's happening inside my brain to make sure that I'm doing things correctly is exhausting. And so I forget to actually verbalize it out loud to you. So hopefully hopefully what I'm sharing in snippets and explaining through voiceover has made sense thus far. Now, I will say that one of the reasons that I've been like so head down focused on this is because I've never done this type of DIY before. I've never built furniture of any kind before. And you know, most people, when they're starting a new skill, they're like, hey, I'm gonna build a little plant stand. And I'm like, I'm gonna build a 5.5 by 8 foot laundry hutch. Why not? So this may have been a bit of a bigger project that perhaps I should not have tackled for my very first time building any kind of furniture, but I am compensating for the mistakes as I go. It's all gonna work out. You aren't gonna believe this. At least I didn't. I was so angry with myself. I kept having my cuts be like 1/8 of an inch too short. And I was like, what is happening? I measured this like 7 times. And then I'd go and I'd make the cut and I'd come back in and it would be too short, just barely too short. And I realized that I blew shut, there we go. I realized that I am really bad about leaving tools places. So I had 2 measuring tapes. I left one in this area because that's where I was measuring, and I have a different one out by my saw. Don't ever do that. I compared my measuring tapes. They were 1/8 of an inch different than each other. Are you kidding me? So if you are measuring, make sure you measure with the tape measure that you are also measuring to cut with, because they might be different. I'm wary of this one. I keep hitting my head on it so many times. It hurts so bad. Here's my glasses. See, this is my problem. I'm constantly leaving things places and then I need them in here. If you don't have at least a little bit of glue seepage, then you probably didn't use enough, because that means that your contact point didn't smush any out, which means that it's not fully contacted. There's not glue everywhere.
Now you hear this even from the professionals. The mistakes that you make in your carpentry skills will get fixed with caulk and wood filler. And that is definitely true for this project. I caulked all of the seams between every single surface, as well as filled all of the nail holes to make it look really seamless and flush and more like an actual built-in piece of furniture rather than something that I pieced together. Then I went ahead and I painted the rest of the room.
Every wall that I've painted has made this room feel so much better. This is a really pretty gray. I do like it. But in this room with almost zero natural light, it was so drab and just like made me sad when I walked into the room. And so this is gonna be such a good shift.
I decided to go ahead and hang back up this really pretty brass hanging bar. It's a really easy way to hang something before you want to steam it because it's up high. And then I went ahead and reassembled the room.
Is there anything better than taking tape off after a painting project? I only taped this instead of removing it from the wall because when I hung it the first time it gave me a bunch of problems. And so I didn't want to have to redo it.
The last step was putting up the hanging bar for all of my hanging clothes, and then I got to decorate. Even before everything was fully complete, it has been such a huge blessing to have this piece of furniture in the space. It makes this whole room so much more functional, but also beautiful, which is important to me. I use these baskets, they hold a ton, and everything fits so well, easily accessible, but hides away completely. I really love that I was able to match the basket tones. This specific brand of basket has lots of different shapes and sizes. I'll link them all for you in the description, but they match, which is important to me when you're using multiple baskets in one space. And there is my little access hatch. Just trimmed it out and it sits flush. No one will ever know.
All right, so down here, I've got a little tension rod with some hooks to hide. Obviously, I don't want this to be what people see when they first walk in. I got this fabric because I have this really cool God story about herons, and I don't like the fabric. Unfortunately, it's definitely not what I thought it was. I thought that the scale of the herons was a lot smaller, and I don't like the colors for this room. So this is not gonna work, which is unfortunate, but I'll tell you the heron story anyways. While I'm telling you that story, I found this pillow cover. I thought it was worth a shot. I don't know if it's gonna look good or not, but we'll see. Anyways, the heron story. So when we moved to our last house, there were herons that lived on the property, and my daughter was 5-ish when we moved there. And one day she saw the herons and she thought they were so cool, and we'd really never seen them before. When we lived at our other house, and even like in Michigan in general, we had not seen them or not noticed them. And so she prayed after seeing the heron that first time and said, God, can I please see the herons all the time? She just loved them. And I kid you not, we saw a heron every single day for like a year. And not just on our property, because there was one that lived on our property, but everywhere that we went, we would see them flying, we would see them eating in fields, we would see them just like out and about in creeks. And it was just so cool, and such a cool like testimony for this sweet little 5-year-old faith to have God answer her prayer. And we still see herons to this day, and every time we see them, it's still a reminder of God's goodness and his answer to prayer. And so it's just a cool, special thing for our family. So I kind of like to find a fabric that will work with herons, because I like to incorporate them into our homes. But this fabric's not gonna work. No, that's not gonna work. All right, I gotta get fabric that'll work for this spot.
I decided to try a flour sack next, but it was really soiled, so I soaked it in my Branch Basics laundry detergent. Takes everything out every single time. It's an excellent stain remover. I will link it for you in the description. They are currently on sale. It's non-toxic, and I use them for literally everything. I also ordered a sheet set for myself, and I saw that there were 4 pillowcases in this one, and I thought that might be cute, but then I decided not to go that route.
Honestly now, who would have thought that the most complicated and time-consuming part of this project was gonna be this little piece of fabric? I decided that the white was fine, but not super cute. But I don't like the black rings. They just don't go with everything else, especially because I've got gold accents on the hanging bar. So I'm gonna take these off, and I found some gold ones, but then I also found a cute patterned tea towel. I haven't actually gone into a fabric store, which is what I really need to do, but just with the life happenings that are going on right now with kids and such, I haven't had time to do that, and it's easier to just order things. So that's what I did. And also why it's probably been much harder to find what I want than just to go into a fabric store. So eventually down the road, I will probably do that and find some really cute fabric that I can make like the proper size and everything. But in the meantime, this flour sack actually did fit it very well. And this tea towel I think will also fit it really well once I get the rings on it. So I need to iron it, and then we're gonna do that. These gold rings feel much more appropriate for the look that I'm going for than black. Metal colors really do matter. So if something is feeling off on a design that you're doing, look at the metal color, because maybe it's just not quite right. The black was way too cool for how cozy this entire thing is with the wood and with the cream color, so gold goes much better. That I think actually worked out really lovely. It came in a set of 3 different colors. So as the seasons change, like maybe I'll do a blue in the winter, summer might be this really fun mustardy yellow, and spring's green. Fall, green works for fall. So we're all set. Now, one thing that I always hear from people is that open storage like this isn't practical, and it limits the amount of things that I can store in here. But I had a cabinet that hid everything before, and everything that I had in that cabinet is now in this and this. That basket, and that basket, completely empty. Completely empty. I could put so much more storage in here now. This gave me a ton of extra space for any extra storage that I need, especially up here, things that you don't use all the time, like extra linens or things like that, that would be very beautiful, even displayed on an open shelf if I really wanted to, but I can still hide it in these baskets. They have lids, they're tall, it makes sense. Laundry soap in a cute canister, the dryer balls, like I could do so much with this space and make it look styled, but it's practical storage, and I love when open storage is practical, functional, and still beautiful.
Now let's take a quick tour of the bathroom side. Nothing changed over here except for the paint color, but it really did brighten the space so much. It made it so much cozier, so much more life-giving than the dull gray that really sucked it out of me. And so I'm really happy that I went ahead and painted the entire room. The color is so creamy and perfect. And then I kept everything else the same. These cute cafe curtains, the window film that gives us privacy without sacrificing sunlight. Then it was time to decorate the other side.
This wall is just begging for some art, and it's obviously where our pocket door is housed, so I don't want to put any nails into the wall because it will hit the pocket door. So I have this mixed tile. It's just magnetic on the back, and I'm kind of hopeful that it's not going to be too fresh of paint, but I'm also not really sure. So you literally just stick it to the wall, and it is removable, repositionable, and it sticks really nicely. And that way I can have a little bit of art and pretty in here to look at without damaging my pocket door.
Now let's remember where we started. Very basic, very builder grade. Everything was just kind of cobbled together with what I had on hand at the time after our major construction was done, but it was never functional, and I cannot believe what the space looks like now.
This was such a challenging build for me. Never built anything to this extent whatsoever. Honestly, watched so many YouTube videos of woodworkers, people teaching me how to use the Craig jig properly, what angle to drill the screws in, and all the intricacies of learning new tools. This was a big project, so I'm really glad that it's done. I'm actually really pleased with it. I would have done a few things differently, but they're minor things that I think is just a great learning experience for future builds down the road. Now, if you're kind of hoping to do something similar in your space, I'm gonna link everything that you're gonna need for this project in the description. The plans, the cut list optimizer, the free plan maker, all of the sources for the materials that I use, the saws that I used, all the tools, all the bathroom sources, even down to the tile if you really want it. And it's all linked in the description for you. Obviously, this piece was very customized to my space because I had a very small amount of space left before I hit the window that I could add those storage units. So you can customize it to any size by just simply switching up your dimensions. If you do this project, please, 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 please let me know and send me a picture. And I would love to see all of the laundry hutches that are gonna exist after this build. It's so practical, it's so pretty, and I love how it turned out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.